Up until Sandy Calder's time, sculpture was an expression of solidity, of motionlessness. It turns out that something else was possible. The flight of a bird was possible, or the seeming flight of the bird. And it says, we are ourselves then more than earthbound.
It shatters the illusion of everything that sculpture ever was. It is unlike any body of work created this century. He changed the nature of sculpture. He redefined what sculpture was, could possibly be, and now is.
On the day of his birth, July 22, 1898, Alexander Calder already had art in his blood. His mother was a painter. His father and his grandfather were both famous American sculptors. Their Scottish forefathers for generations had been stonemasons. But nothing in any of their work foretold the daring, the exuberance, the wackiness, the sheer beauty of the things that this boy would grow up to make. Sandy Calder grew up immersed in art, modeling for his parents, making his own toys.
This was a household where art was the sort of daily parlance of living. Calder, as a child, had a studio, had his own little workshop. So there was already this comfort level with tools and with materials and with making things. And his sister talks about watching him make the dog and a duck when he was a youngster. And she said he cut out the elements and they were flattened like a pelt. But then he made that conceptual leap from 2 dimensions to 3. And he took these small pieces of metal and with relative ease configured them into 2 little animals.
Years later, Calder remembered one of his early experiments. I made an electric light plug out of a cork, a nail, and a piece of copper wire. But after drawing an enormous spark from this apparatus, I quit bothering electricity. Despite his background, he was far from eager for a career in art. My father said, "What do you want to study?" And here I was a bit nonplussed. But a fella at Lowell High School told me he was going to be a mechanical engineer. I was not very sure what this term meant, but I thought I'd better adopt it. At the Stevens Institute of Technology in Hoboken, New Jersey, Sandy Calder's favorite subjects were sports and girls. But he also managed to learn some serious science that one day would serve him well: mathematics, physics, kinetics, and the nature of industrial materials. He did not make much of an engineer. In his first job, he lasted all of 2 weeks. He grew an unfortunate mustache and was fired for loafing at a window sash factory. As an insurance detective, he disliked the office lighting and quit. Trying to sell a sort of early rototiller in West Virginia, he mowed down a perfect row of cucumbers. Working on a freighter off Guatemala, Calder woke up on deck one morning to a life-defining experience. 40 years later, he recalled the moment. I saw the beginning of a fiery red sunrise on one side, and the moon looking like a silver coin on the other. Of the whole trip, this impressed me most of all. It left me with a lasting sensation of the solar system. Finally, he could no longer resist his calling. In 1923, now 25 years old, Calder entered the Art Students League in New York. He painted, he drew, he tinkered. With no clock in his meager room on 14th Street, Calder fashioned a wire rooster mounted on a rod with radiating lines at the foot to indicate the hours. A sundial. He sketched his fellow strap hangers on the subway. He loved painting the streetscapes, the harbor, the city parks. He made his first small fees as an artist drawing scenes of New York for the racy National Police Gazette. The Gazette sent Calder to the circus, and he was entranced. For 2 weeks, day and night, he drew and drew and drew. In 1926, Calder set sail for the center of the world of art, the world of Pablo Picasso, Ernest Hemingway, Gertrude Stein, Jean Cocteau, Piet Mondrian, the birthplace of modernism, Paris.
It was the place to be in the 1920s. Virgil Thompson was there, Scott Fitzgerald was there. Anybody who was engaged in the arts was very likely to turn up in Paris and to be able to live quite well and have a good time and to join other people in the same milieu. They were breaking new ground or trying to do so, and certainly Sandy was breaking new ground more than anybody, as it subsequently turned out.
He didn't know exactly what he was going to do. He was doing illustration, made some posters, whatever he could get, basically. And he was truly, for the first time, so much on his own, you know, so much under his own steam, that I think it really allowed him to experiment.
In a tiny rented room, subsisting on a monthly stipend from his parents, Calder still reveled in his favorite childhood pastime, tinkering with wire and wood. The results were playful, even toy-like, but this was deeply serious child's play.